Hello, Elaixzar here. Today I want to go over some of the programming stuff that we've been working on. Uh, we've been working on the world terrain generation, and we've had a lot of issues with it, but we've gotten a lot of progress over the last few months. So just want to show you some of the things that we're working on right now. The editor that we're using is Unity. You may have recently heard that they're filing an IPO. They've been around for a while, and they have a very solid game engine. There's a fairly strong learning curve to get into the Unity programming, but once you get past it, there's a lot of useful tools. Let's talk about this interface real quick. So this main window here is the game window. It shows the active scene that we're in right now. Right now it's not playing, so it's just a static window with the interfaces that we're looking at. Over here is the hierarchy of the scene. Right now we have a little bit of the background, some camera interactions, the user interface, so we can toggle the user interface on and off. You have the world here that contains all of the scripts to generate the world. You have some manager stuff for the game engine, and some other miscellaneous groups. Down here we have our debug and error log. We can write messages from our scripts to track certain things, such as chunks rendered, level of detail chunks that we have to generate, and some timings. We also have our error log here for all the many errors that we encounter throughout the day, which happens a lot, more than we like to admit. And over here we have all our project files that I have condensed to this really tiny box just to give you guys room to see everything else. So let's hit play and see what happens. It takes a few seconds for it to load up, but once it does, we don't really see much. That's why we have it set up for debugging purposes. We want it to generate when we click the button, so we see exactly how fast everything loads up. When you generate the world, it goes to fog until the world starts appearing, and then the fog dissipates as the render distance goes up. So this is just a small world I have for testing, just a few chunks here in the center, and then as you get further away from the center of the map, the level of detail increases, so you get bigger and bigger tiles as you get further away. One of the things I'm debugging in this scene is as we move the camera, the single tiles at the center of the map renders out further and further and moves with the camera, and then also the larger tiles also have to compensate and be rendered. As you move the camera, everything should stay as you see it until the small tiles render over the larger tiles, then the larger tiles can be unrendered. But for this, it seems not to be working correctly. The larger tiles disappears first, creating the holes in the map before everything renders correctly on top of it. So that's one of the things I'm going to be looking into today. So all of our code is done in C#, and we use Visual Studio, which is a Microsoft tool that is used with Unity to do all our coding. I was able to go into the code and figure out exactly what's going on with the unrendering, and it turns out it's here in the terrain unrender batch, where we check to see if some of the unconditional chunks can be unrendered, so stuff that's outside of the actual render area, so the edge chunks. Then we also have conditional unrendered chunks that handles all the overlapping between the level of detail, where you want to have the increasing level of detail rendered first before you unrender the lower level of detail chunks. So it turns out that is in this section of code specifically is the chunk filled with a different level of detail. And if you go to this definition, it had to do with this section of code right here, looking if the chunk objects exist. We recently split out chunk objects that are normal chunks, 16 by 16 tiles, with level of detail chunks. You can have up to 16 times that number of tiles per chunk. So this code was being confused by the two different objects that we split it out into. So technical stuff aside, let's go back to the actual game engine. So now that we're back in the game engine, we can go ahead and hit play and then generate the world. And then we can see the world generate again. I decreased the fog just so you can see it render in for debugging again. And if we zoom out and then move, we shouldn't see the gaps in the world anymore. So you can see that the level of detail renders correctly as you move the camera over. So that's a brief glimpse into some of the issues that we encounter on a daily basis. Luckily this one was a quick fix and I can work through it with you guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing a brief introduction on some of the tools that we use, and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Thanks a lot. Bye.